Welcome back to the Black Sensei Society channel. This is another original video by yours truly. Now today's video won't be a B.S.S collective list. This is actually my personal list, and if the rest of the captains want to post their own personal list, feel free to go ahead. These are my top 10 anime slash manga moments of 2024. Now this is obviously very subjective. This is the stuff that I enjoyed the most this year. I'll give my reasonings. There's going to be slight spoilers on this list, but I won't go too in depth with the spoilers. But that said, like and subscribe. Let's dive right into it. Starting out with my number 10. Now it's technically not an anime and it's technically not a manga, but I'm including it on this list regardless because I treat it for the most part the same, and that is Echo and Jinx. Arcane was so good this year. Arcane season 1 wasn't something that I thought it was generational in terms of the storytelling, in terms of the characters. I thought the animation was great and the music was great for sure, of course, and there were some good plot twists as well, but season 2 took it another level in my opinion. I thought that season 2 of Arcane's story was fantastic. I thought they developed their characters so well. I thought even the new characters were fleshed out and became so important. People like B.S.S, people like, Echo to a larger extent in season 2, and even the shorty Isha, right? So season 2 of Arcane was great, and one of the real big reasons why I liked it so much is because Echo had such a prominent role. Echo's my favorite character. Echo's so many people's favorite character, and to see him go back in the past and see his relationship with Jinx in particular was so refreshing, because I've always thought that when they first encountered one another in season 1 when they were growing up, I felt like this doesn't seem like this is how the relationship should be. There was a very interesting tension between the two, and we came full circle in Arcane because in season 2, come to find out, when he went back in time, they were in love with each other. And then because Echo realizing his feelings for Jinx, that helped him come back and then obviously have a great moment with her, saving her life. My issue though is that Echo and Jinx we didn't get to see the conversation between the two because apparently that got cut, but ultimately the interaction, the dynamic between the two was so great. That is my number 10 moment. My number 9 moment is a manga spoiler, and it involves Kagurabachi. Now I won't tell you exactly what the spoiler is, but I will say this: Kagurabachi had a amazing plot twist. Now Kagurabachi is not a manga that I think is one of the greatest. I'm not the biggest fan of Kagurabachi compared to other people. Ty is the biggest Kagurabachi fan on the B.S.S crew, but Kagurabachi, in terms of his storytelling, in my opinion, in 2024 has really kicked it up a notch. And the plot twist that has recently happened blew my mind, and I thought it was an interesting, fascinating way to shake up the flow of the story. It wasn't a simplistic route where the good guy is taking out the bad guy. No, because of this plot twist, it revealed so many different layers, and there is so many things that we just don't know about the truths behind the swords that the main character is going after. So that plot twist was fantastic. That plot twist has truly changed the dynamic of the story, and it went from something simplistic to something more dynamic, like a Chainsaw Man or Attack on Titan, where you don't really know who the good guys are. Number 8 has to be Dandadan, more specifically the reveal of Dandadan in the manga. Now the Dandadan anime is doing some great stuff, and I really like the opening. Honestly, that could make the list in and itself, but I'm talking about the reveal of Dandadan in the manga because this is a huge moment for the story. Now Dandadan in and itself is not a story that has a complex narrative structure. The plot is pretty straightforward. It's very reactionary to things happening, but now we're reaching to the point where we're getting a real villain for the story. We get to know that Momo is way more important than we think, and that Dandadan is just not a name of a series. No, it's supposed to be this crazy thing to change the world as we know it. Now I won't give you the innate details, don't worry, I won't spoil you that much, but this is such a huge moment for the story, and it made Dandadan much bigger than it ever was intended to be. In my opinion, it was just an enjoyable story with good backstories. But now there's going to be another layer of Dandadan that I can't wait to find out more. It has a secret that will be a huge reveal later on in the story, and we love those huge reveals. Shout out Dr. Stone, shout out One Piece, shout out Attack on Titan. again, huge reveals, huge secrets make a story so much more interesting. My number 7 spot is the ending of Mission Yozakura Family, more specifically the ending of Taiyo as I know it as of right now, because it's not officially over, but what they did in the recent chapter was so interesting, and what they've been doing with Taiyo, I just like it. Taiyo's one of my favorite protagonists, and I really liked his character arc from the beginning to the end of the story. Now I got an anime, go check it out. It's pretty solid. I thought they did a pretty good job. They could have done Demon Slayer level good, but it's not, unfortunately. But overall, the Mission Yozakura Family has one of the more fascinating stories of Shonen Jump, and it's a very interesting twist in the spy and the kind of familiar romance structure. It's not a romance series per se, but the relationship between Mutsumi and Taiyo is something that everybody will love, I guarantee you. Now, what I'm talking about in particular, since Mission Yozakura Family is ending, is that how they're wrapping up Taiyo's story makes him so much of a better character than I expected him to be. And not only that, it had a huge character moment for one of the more fascinating characters in Kirochiro that I thought was also excellent, and it also brings the story between Kirochiro and Taiyo full circle. Mission Yozakura Family was so enjoyable. There's no lull periods, and to see the climax be what it was, I am satisfied. I enjoyed it. I'm not coming out of it like I came out of JJK or My Hero Academia. I was like, oh, there's problems, there's plot holes, there's things that's left to be said. This is not the greatest conclusion thematically. Mission Yozakura Family hit it on the nail on the coffin. This was a good ending. I have no issue. Number 6 was the reveal that Todoroki, manga spoilers, I'm sorry, this is gonna have to be a spoiler, but Todoroki is one of the top heroes. More specifically, Todoroki is the number 2 hero in My Hero Academia at the end of the series. And this was so satisfying for so many reasons. Not only is Todoroki my favorite character, not only have I been saying Todoroki was going to be a top hero, I was saying that he probably could be one, but Miro's there, so I'm not mad at it. But bare minimum, I was so steadfast on thinking that he would be the number 2 hero. And he is the number 2 hero. He's proven he's the number 2 hero. Everything that he's worked toward, it was just so satisfying to see all of that at the end of the story. And it was even more satisfying to see Bakugo crash out and fall in the rankings. So I really enjoyed the moment, and I get to say I told you so. You know, I always love to do that. Number 5 is Uryu in the recent Bleach 1000 Year Blood War arc and all the extra content he's been getting. Uryu in the manga for the 1000 Year Blood War arc was used terribly. I'm gonna be honest. He had one of the most broken abilities in Bleach, but he's only used it once, and it didn't even work when he fought against Drugrim. And then he did the thing with the silver arrow, which was terrible at the end of the story. Uryu was so underutilized, despite being such an important character in this entire narrative when he joined Yuha, that it was severely disappointing to see his character kind of go down this path in Bleach. But the anime, and Kubo in particular, has rectified that completely. He has done an amazing job to make Uryu seem much more interesting and much more reliable and much more powerful than we ever expected. To not only see him use antithesis in a different scenario and actually work, but we also get to see him use his abilities to its max. We got to see him beat Ichigo 1v1. We got to see him destroy Renji 1v1. I have so many more hope when it comes to Uryu in future conflicts, and honestly, he should be in a final fight with Yuha as well to see what antithesis does against the Almighty. Kubo has done a masterclass when it comes to Uryu's character, and I really appreciate that. Number 4 is one of the most viral and talked about moments in social media this year, and that was the return of Gojo, in particular, more specifically, Yuta returning as Gojo. Yuta, my goat. Yuta, my goat. I really like Yuta. I always thought that he was the true MC of Jujutsu Kaisen. We've made jokes about that so many times, but it's great to see him have the more interesting moments in the final arc. And I'll be honest, that's what I truly think. Yuta, when he released his domain expansion, and Yuta returning as Gojo was the most interesting parts of the final arc for me, other than Gojo versus Sukuna, obviously. I thought it was such an interesting way to bring him back in the story, and I thought that Yuta taking this task to become Gojo was an interesting story to tell for Yuta to be the, taking over his predecessor's role. Now, of course, there wasn't no long-term consequence of this, but at that time, it was huge. It was all over the internet, and we were locked in for the potential return of Gojo. Number 3, one of the things that I really always like is when something comes out and I immediately think that this is one of them ones. And there was one of the things that came out this year that I thought that was one of them ones, and I'm more confident than I ever was when it comes to manga. The only other manga I felt like this was Goku Rukugai, and I had hope a little bit for Dear and Enemy, but unfortunately it seems like people didn't like it. But Goku Rukugai, I was 100% confident. Bug Ego is so freaking good. I am so locked in. The release of Bug Ego is my number 3 moment of the year. I think it's such a unique manga. The art is mind-blowing good, and the story that they're telling is I've never seen something like this, and it's so freaking funny too. I really think that everybody needs to read Bug Ego because it is a great manga, and it is a monthly, so you're guaranteed quality every single time it releases. Number 2, speaking of the release of one of them ones, technically came out in 2023, but I'm going to talk about it right now, and that is Freerun season 1, the entire season. Freerun is one of the best anime I've ever seen, period. Freerun was so good, and I didn't expect it. It gave me a breath of fresh air for the fantasy series. I read the synopsis, I was like, it's kind of unique. It doesn't follow the usual, oh, we're about to take out the demon lord route. And I watched it, and I was way more entranced and way more enjoyed than I ever expected to be. The characters are amazing between Freerun, Fern, Stark, the power system, and the lore, the character relationship. It feels like when you're watching Freerun that you're like along for the journey. It feels like you're truly experiencing a RPG type story when you watch this anime, and it's so unconventional on the path that they are taking, while you also get to see how great Freerun is, but you get to see a unique juxtaposition for her being an elf in this world as well. So Freerun is fantastic. It blew the world by storm. It's one of the greatest anime that's ever came out for a season 1, and it will be one of the greatest anime of all time. It will be a consensus probably top 5 anime of all time when it's done. I'm so confident with that. And my number 1 moment of 2024 has to be One Piece related, because I've kind of just did one per series if you notice in this list, and that is the lore dump from Vegapunk in One Piece. When he was talking to us about what happened back then, the One Piece used to be under, oh my god, there was so much lore that was dropped in that final message to the One Piece world, and my mind was blown. We were having so many conversations on what this means. What does this mean for One Piece? I love lore dumps. I love learning more about the series, and One Piece for somehow just keeps on getting more and more interesting. So honestly, One Piece just keeps on cooking. So with that said, these are my top 10 moments out of all the anime manga moments that I've seen this year. Let me know what your best moments are in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Y'all have a good one. Take care. Peace.